Welcome back. The epilogue. Ruth. I will always be grateful to Rosie for protecting Timmy. He told me that after I disappeared, she began to pick him up from school, taking him for ice cream or to the library to study until my father got home from work. Sometimes I wonder if Rosie did it because she knew I'd help protect her sister Marie. For nearly 25 years, I've tried to avoid remembering what happened after James slammed the bat into Coach's stomach. But the memory has pushed back, asserting itself at odd times, like when I'm skipping past a TV channel airing a baseball game or spotted a man wearing a Bruce Springsteen t-shirt. Now that James is dead, I can no longer repress the truth about that long ago night. Did y'all feel like it was something else to that night? After Coach collapsed on the floor of his office, moaning but still conscious, James lifted the Louisville slugger a second time, preparing to strike him again. But he didn't. Instead, James lowered the bat and held it out to me. It was an offering. I had a choice. Coach was still wearing the same clothes he had on when he'd molested me. I was standing in the same spot too. But this time, he was at my mercy, not the other way around. I didn't hesitate. I took the bat and raised it over my head. I brought it down on Coach again and again as a roaring noise filled my ears. I know now it was the sound of rage. When I was spent and sweaty, I handed the bat back to James. He took it from me and set it down on the floor. All this time, we thought it was James who killed the coach. No wonder why he said what he said. Coach was no longer moving. Every word I wrote in my journal was truthful, but I didn't write the entire truth. Ain't nobody surprised, Ruth? When I described the night of Coach's attack in my green spiral notebook, I skipped over the details of my involvement. I picked up the story by detailing what happened after James took the bat from me, after I released my blind rage and come back into my own body. All of the images of that night of the attack that I kept replaying, the one I go back to the most often is this. James setting the bat down on the floor, then looking at me as he grabbed Coach's limp arm and dragged Coach deeper into his office, leaving a trail of smeared blood. James' eyes were as gentle and untroubled as if we just finished making love. When James saw what I was capable of, he knew he found his soulmate. After my rage passed, I regretted what I'd done. I wanted to call for an ambulance. But in the moment when I was hearing the thud of the bat slamming onto Coach's body, it felt right. More than that, it felt good. James never told a soul that I was the real murderer of Coach Franklin, except for Catherine. Let our daughter see you're a killer. He sure did say that. James taunted me while I pointed my knife at him in the parking lot of Sunrise. Catherine missed the clue. I don't think she did. And now the truth will go with me to my grave. I will never share it with a soul, not even Catherine, especially not Catherine. I think about this on my drive from Harrisburg to Baltimore. Even with rush hour traffic, I make it to Catherine's new city in just under 90 minutes. I find a spot near the entrance of Hopkins on the corner of Broadway and Fayette, but not too close, and cut the Bonneville's engine. It sputters a few times, as if in protest before settling into silence. Catherine should be arriving soon. When she telephoned last night, she told me she planned to walk through the main entrance as a way of marking the occasion. My energy level has been through the roof lately, she said, laughing. It was the sound of her bubbling laughter that made me grow very still, my sponge halting midway through its arc across the kitchen counter. Should Catherine be this joyous, this lit up, given what happened less than a week ago? Now that our apartment is so empty at night, I can hear all of my old fears crashing around me within its walls. That's why I've been overthinking things. I tell myself as I unclip my seatbelt and step out. I stare up at the red brick buildings that compose different parts of the hospital. A young nurse walks out of one of the doors pushing the wheelchair of a boy whose leg is in a cast. A question I've asked Catherine pops into my mind again. I never received a satisfying answer from her. She may not even have one. Why did she choose geriatrics as her specialty? Unlike obstetrics, or pediatrics, or any number of other departments, she was drawn to a field with an intimate proximity of decay to death. Because Catherine worked in a nursing home when she graduated high school, she has watched many people take their final breaths. This was fully her choice, an unusual one for a girl of 18. Evidence of her compassionate heart or something else. Last week, while I was helping Catherine pack up the things she needed for her new apartment, scenes from her childhood played in my mind like a reel from a home movie. But not the bittersweet, tender scenes mothers usually reach for when their child leaves the nest. I didn't envision Catherine's first day of kindergarten or the stuffed dog named Brownie she carried around for 2 solid years. I thought about the fire she created that left me with a permanent scar and could have burned down our kitchen, and her bedwetting that persisted far beyond the appropriate developmental age, and the mangled body of the squirrel that so intrigued her, the dead mouse under her bed, the cat that went missing from the home of our next door neighbor with the wind chimes. James once asked me this question about the little cat named Smokey, but now I imagine Catherine's voice chiming in, entwining with his. Do you think I'd hurt an animal? I didn't want to know the answer. It's why I never let her have a pet, not even a gerbil or a fish, no matter how much she begged. At night, when sleep refuses to descend and grant me peace, I tell myself these data points don't prove anything. They are individual stars, not a constellation. Still, what I would give to be able to peek inside my daughter's mind. I don't kid myself that I know Catherine through and through. I hid big pieces of myself from her. She may not even know yet that certain parts of herself exist. During my good moments, I almost convince myself I have nothing to worry about. I tell myself my tendencies to catastrophize is sharpening my fears to an unrealistic point. Catherine's life will unspoon gently. She'll marry and have a few kids. I'll go to every school recital and birthday party. I try to picture this brightly colored reel of the future, to will it into existence. Catherine and her husband heading out to celebrate an anniversary while I wave at them from the couch, a baby in my arms. Go have fun, I'll say. I've got this. Life will be easier from here on out. The worst is behind me. There's just one thing I can't get out of my mind. When Catherine looked at me after she plunged a lethal dose of insulin into James' neck, I didn't see fear or remorse or doubt in her denim blue eyes. They were utterly serene. They were her father's eyes. The old adage rattles around in my brain, taunting me. Apple from the tree. This weekend, I visited the McCormick Riverfront Library again. I'm accustomed to planning for every eventuality to calculating all the possible risk. It's how I kept us safe for so many years. But now my research takes me in a different direction. I try to distill the information I have into a prediction of what it may mean when a daughter is born to 2 murderers. There seemed to be a genetic component of violence, but whose genes will prove dominant in Catherine? I tell myself Catherine doesn't have an addiction to violence like her father. She's like me. Catherine killed in the heat of the moment and only because it felt justifiable. Now I drop my car keys into the side pocket of my purse and suddenly I see Catherine on the night she killed James, wiping down the car keys from James' pocket before tossing it away, as if guided by something stronger than instincts. Never leave fingerprints, James whispered in my mind. I've learned enough about murderers to understand that for some, the taste of their first kill whets an appetite. It's as if a switch has been flicked. For some, it ignites possibilities. A breeze ruffles the air, which is already warm at 7:45 a.m. on this June morning. Catherine should come into view any second now. She'll want to be here early for her first day. The mournful wail of an ambulance splits through the air as the vehicle turns the corner, approaching the ER entrance. And in its wake comes Catherine, striding down the sidewalk, excitement blooming on her lovely face. My hand raises to cover my heart. A moment later, she disappears through the hospital doors. She never even noticed me, which was my intention. I'm used to traveling through life as a ghost. I'm very good at disappearing. Women do it all the time. It's much harder to make a man vanish, but we did it, my daughter and me. I walk back to the Bonneville and climb into the driver's seat. I have the day off, which means I can spend time wandering around Catherine's new neighborhood, getting to know it. I like the idea of being able to picture her as she moves about her day. It will help me put new safeguards into place. For the rest of my life, I will continue to watch over Catherine in ways she knows about and in ways she does not. Because there is one thing we women do even better than disappearing, we protect our children. Even if that means protecting my daughter from the darkness inside her. I reach into my purse for my keys, but my fingers brush the metal spiral of my old notebook. I pull it out. I need to add one final line. I would do anything to keep you safe, Catherine. Anything at all. And that is the end of the book. Whew, for a minute, I thought that Catherine was going to set Ruth up to get caught. Why? The book is over. Why do I still keep going further and further and further? This book, I want it to continue, but I know it's at its end. And Ruth is a stalker. She is a whole stalker, but she's going to say that she's protecting Catherine. Okay, now let's go back this chapter. I had a feeling that there was something else going on with the murder of the coach, but I never mentioned it. But it was always in the back of my mind because some things just didn't make sense, like James not telling. So I'm just like, that's why I kept wanting the perspective of James. And now I see why they did not give the perspective of James, because we would have knew sooner than later that Ruth was the one who killed the coach. He said he saw it in her, right? And now we know the reason why she left is because James knew that she was his Bonnie, right? Bonnie and Clyde? Yeah. Bonnie was the female, right? Yeah. James knew that he had another murderer and he thought they was going to be going on the road together killing. But it's over. Okay, so real quick, now I have a few more thoughts. I wrote them down. Okay, so now that her family know that she's alive and she's been in contact with them, she made them an accessory to, well, yeah, it's after the fact. They don't know that do they know she murdered her? They got to. We're going to say deep down inside they know. Oops, sorry. I keep forgetting my mic is here. deep down inside, they know she did something because she ran. So now she made them an accessory. Okay. I said, will they keep having to run? I think they're going to have to run or be real low key for the rest of their life. That's the decisions. Okay, so I was kind of torn between Ruth's decisions. Torn because, yes, she was young. She was 16 and pregnant, and she just murdered somebody. Not saying that it's an excuse for that, but I can understand why she ran. Now, what I didn't like is the fact that she didn't talk to her daughter about anything. Like, what would have been the harm of talking to your daughter about situation? You could, just be like, look, this is between us. Don't be talking about it, kind of deal. But I guess she couldn't trust a kid not to say something. But when she became a teenager and an adult, she could have, let her know some things. So that's what I mean by I was torn between it, because I can understand. And then I was like, did Ruth have a choice? Now, everybody have a choice. She was 16. He did do something to her. Then it was a history that he did something to Maria, which caused, Maria to go a little crazy. So she could have told somebody. But I also think that she wanted to get away from James, too. I don't think she was that much in love with James to be like, yeah, no, I'll be your Bonnie. She wasn't there. I already touched on the fact that I would have loved more of James' perspective. But then, like I said, we would have known sooner rather than later that, Catherine actually killed him. Dang, think about that. He did 24 years for something he didn't do. Whew. Now, he should have been a little bit more madder when he finally got to her. But they had to play it that way. I want to know, will Catherine tap into or control the things that she got from both her mother and her father? I think she's reveling in it. I think she's enjoying the feeling. I don't think that she's going to kill anybody, because she is working at a hospital, like Ruth said, in that department where death. So maybe that'll be enough for her. I'm talking like there's going to be a sequel to this book. We don't know. Okay. And I also wondered, did anybody see anything from Sunrise? Like, wasn't they in the front parking lot? They wasn't, or were they behind? I don't know. It seemed like they was in the front, and somebody should have saw something, or somebody should have heard something, right? But guess not. Also, what was the point of the journal? I understand her writing stuff down, but she could have been told her daughter stuff. And the journal, I don't get why she did it, but I guess it was for her to jot down memories, or kind of like a diary, so to speak. And why did James let Catherine go so easily like that? I don't know. I'm going to say he had got a little bit tender once he found out it was his daughter, and then he directed his anger towards the right person, which was Ava. I kept calling her Ruth this whole time, Ava. But those were the only things that, I wanted to finish and ask, what do you guys think about the book? Let me know in the comment sections below. But now I'm getting ready to give my ratings on the book. Okay, let me go. Plot. Out of 5 stars, I give it a 4, because it had me from beginning to end. There wasn't too much of a downtime or anything like that. So I'm going to give it a 4. Characters, I'm going to give that also a 4, because the way they did it, I like the fact that they would say who was speaking and stuff like that. So that part I really, really like. And the characters wasn't too many. It was just enough characters. that I didn't get confused or anything like that. The writing to me was good. I like the writing. I like the fact that I think I learned about 6 words. I'm not sure, but they didn't do too much of that big word kind of stuff. But I appreciate what they did put in. And did I say I give that a 4? If I didn't, it's a 4. Okay, overall rating for this book, I'm so happy that I picked it for my book for January. And my overall rating out of 5, I'm going to give it a 4.5. I give it a 4.5 because I still got questions. So that other half, I got questions. But anyway, that's the end of the book for January. And as I mentioned in my plans for books, I will be reading 6 on camera and 6 off camera. So February, there will be no book on my channel. I will be reading that off camera to myself. And with that said, I'm just going to show you my options. I don't know which one I'm going to pick yet, but I'm going to pick from this one here. It might be backwards. So it's Thin Ice by Paige Shelton. I tried to read this before, but it didn't get anywhere. I have this one here, Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lapina. Then I have this one by Terry McMillan. It's Not All Downhill from Here. Tried to read that one, didn't get anywhere. Not that the book was boring, I just stopped reading it. Then I have this one, Mad Money, and that's Jodi Picoult. I'm gonna try to have it change so you can see the title. And then the last one is this one, Still Breathing by Jennifer Hartman. Okay, you can see that. Okay, so I don't know which one I'm gonna read for February, but I will give a brief summary of whatever I chose to read at the end of February to let you know whether it's good or not. And until my next video, you all have a great day. Bye. Oh, and thank you so much for everyone that listened along. Now, y'all have a great day. Bye.